Okay, last question. So this is the question of choice, and well, actually, I'm going to answer on choice, in fact, informed choice. So my thoughts on informed choice. Um, this is something that I think actually nowadays with the internet and everything, I find a certain type of irony that I really think that the direction that we've been heading with all this knowledge and information at our fingertips is actually away from informed choice. Now we are blitzed with information that may or may not be pertinent to what we're talking about, may or may not be valid, may or may not be well researched. And, like, I mean, some people honestly think that aliens ought to be included in the debate of, I don't know, vaccinations or art history or whatever. Like, that human beings couldn't have possibly created the pyramids, so we needed alien intervention in order to do it. And these myths are propagated via the internet. There is a lot of mythification of facts and, well, falsifying. Or maybe actually the opposite. Let's see. Actually, more like factivization of myths on the internet, and people buy into them. I mean, the number of times I get some sort of idiotic thing sent to me on Facebook about, oh, if, this and this is happening, you need to be really, really aware that, if you eat those baby carrots, you're gonna die of chlorine poisoning because that white stuff on them is chlorine. You know what? Most vegetables are washed in a minor bleach solution. That means you have mostly water with a tiny bit of bleach. Yeah, there's chlorine on those baby carrots, and there's chlorine on your broccoli. Anyway, it's tiny trace amounts, and yeah, why bitch about the baby carrots? I love baby carrots. Anyway, poor baby carrots. The fact, though, is that if that was all that, this overwhelming content, and much of it stupid content, that would be one thing. But what's happening is it's actually creating a culture in which people do not look for facts and for information. People either don't know how to, and realize that looking things up on the internet is a problem, or they don't know how to distinguish between good research and bad research, so looking things up anywhere is a problem. Or there's this wonderful culture of doing exactly what your friends do, no matter what the facts say. And, group cohesiveness may be very important to many people. It's important to me. I do base some of my decisions on group cohesiveness because I realize that it's important for my mother-in-law to accept me. For example, that does factor into decision making. That is a portion of some of my decisions. Some of my decisions is a very small portion. Some of them it's a larger portion because really there's, it doesn't matter one way or the other, so that might be the swaying factor. As in, the facts kind of fall evenly on either side, so I might opt for group cohesiveness to tip the scales. Fine. Other people might lend more weight to it, and so therefore give much more weight to that and not be willing to, it may be very, very important for their friends to accept them, and that losing their friends' acceptance might be worth it to, or might actually cause such huge upheaval that there's no point in doing something that goes against the group. And that's fair. But to not want to know, I don't understand that. to not want to have, I understand people may feel like you can't have all the information, but to use that as a cop-out to not get any information, really? And then to not value information. That's another thing. Really? How can you have informed choice without information? And frankly, I think a lot of people do not want informed choice. They like choice, but worry about informed choice somehow making them responsible. Like, you know, it's all well and good to be able to have a say, but why don't you tell me what to do, doctor? And, you know, I mean, maybe for some people that's great. I don't want people making my choices for me. At least any ones that matter. And then the last, well, maybe not the last. The other issue that I have is the government then turning around and using this to their advantage. I'm not against government at all, by any means. But I am against the sloganization of policy. Introducing policy with some stupid slogan that is basically like a look no further, here's what you're supposed to do. Back to sleep campaign, put your baby on their back, right? Who knows? Not very many people know how much putting a child back on their back matters in the debate of SIDS. It actually matters a fair bit. Smoking matters a lot too. Quitting smoking is a big, big thing. And then they hear about soother use and this and that, and they don't know how to rank things because nobody's ever said which is more important. So you have all these parents scrambling to do everything, to not do everything they're told not to do, and to do everything they're told to do. But the thing is, and then, you know, their baby doesn't sleep on their back, and so, you know, they push the soother and let the baby sleep on the stomach. If that's what... Anyway, but the thing is, the soother impacts things very little, and the going on your back impacts things a lot. This isn't the kind of information that the government is making available. This isn't the kind of information that doctors make available. It isn't the kind of information that you can just find at the tip of your fingers. You have to go back. Like, in order for me to find out this stuff, I actually have to go into, like, research studies and seeing what the actual dramatic decrease has been. And the thing is, the biggest decrease has been with the Back to Sleep campaign. Smoking in the home is a huge factor, but it's also gone down a lot since people slowed down on smoking. But the thing is, it's really hard to change adult action in order to impact a child. So it is a lot easier to just start out putting a child to sleep on their back. So you can see how there's that dramatic difference in the one and a less dramatic difference in the other, because the one depends on habits changing and the other depends on simply doing something one way from the start. But the thing is, in trying to figure out how to care for their own child, a lot of parents don't really understand. Like, another thing with, and it's not just parents. I'm bringing up these parenting examples because they're kind of salient for me because, you know, I have a baby right now and a lot of my friends are having kids right now, and these are things that we sort of wind up talking about. But the other thing is when can a baby not be on their back? Well, now they've got all these contraptions where you basically tie your baby down in the crib. You don't need that. You put your baby down on their back. If they can roll over, they're... Like, the big thing is, can your baby move away from an obstruction? If the answer is yes, you don't have to worry about it so much. If the answer is no, well, then put your baby on your back and your baby will stay on their back. Right? Like, Anyway, this isn't really me giving parenting advice, but the thing is, that's the complexity that I'm talking about. Parents hear you have to have your child sleeping on your back, and so they tie them down to the bed. When that's not the spirit of the recommendation at all. It's just that because no further information is given, you have parents going overboard or underboard. If that's a word. But whereas I think that if you actually made the real information available, if you said, put your children to sleep, this is the biggest difference that it makes. Put your children to sleep on their backs. Here's the difference. Past this point, it's not that much of a worry. The biggest instance of SIDS is to 3 months old. You get past 3 months and, you can take a bit of a breath of reassurance. It's not perfect, but chances are it goes down a lot. It goes down a lot at 6 months. It goes down a lot more at a year. I mean, when can you breathe a sigh of relief? These are facts that almost seem to be withheld because you have to go and find some study. And if you have to find a study, often that means that you need to have authority to read those articles. You have to have bought the journal, or you have to have paid a subscription, or whatever. And for people who have English as their second language, it becomes even more difficult, because then they're trying to parse a kind of a form of legalese in order to read these damn articles and to get this information, even if they want to have the information. So, sloganizing. While it's handy as a tool, please provide the backup information. 2. Informed choice is a two-way street. Part of it is receiving the information, that's slacking. Part of it is seeking the information, and that's slacking in our society as well. Anyway, I should probably go now, but it's been lovely chatting with you. And, I'll do this again sometime.